Welcome to Munro Live. I'm Nate Wallace. I'm a lead engineer here at Munro. If you're new to Munro, Munro is an engineering firm that specializes in benchmarking, detailed cost analysis, and new product development. Today on Munro Live, we're going to be evaluating the MINI Countryman SE ALL4. This is an electric entrant into the compact SUV market. This specific unit has about 308 horsepower from 2 motors, making it all-wheel drive. It has a 64 kilowatt usable battery, and is kind of a hoot to drive. I was honestly shocked when I got into this car, not really expecting a whole lot out of it, but man, I turned around pretty quick. It ended up, this car is fast, it's agile. There are some pretty significant downsides to it, but we can talk about that later. Okay, well, I popped the hood so we can check out the frunk, but actually this car doesn't have a frunk. Being in the compact SUV market on an EV, I wouldn't expect to have any sort of usable frunk on this car. Not much to see when we first open the hood. There's a large plastic engine or motor cover in this case. We have 2 fluid fills, and that's really all that's available without removing the cover. If we do go ahead and pop this cover off, which just held on in sort of a normal engine cover way with these rubber gaskets and some balls, we are greeted with the PDC heater here. So this is what heats the motor and the powertrain on those chilly winter mornings, eats up some of our EV range. This unit here is the DC to DC converter, manufactured by Panasonic. And then you can see we have our 12-volt battery mounted on this large aluminum casting that acts as a crosscar beam. The drive unit is bolted to the bottom of this beam. So based on what this looks like, it appears that they deck this crosscar beam, the drive unit, the DC to DC converter, the heater, and the 12-volt battery all at the same time with the drive unit. Outside of that, it looks a little piecemeal, which might be expected on a vehicle that started life as a gas engine vehicle, as an ICE unit, and then was converted to an electric powertrain. So we see a lot of plumbing that has a lot of T's and adapters. It doesn't really look like a comprehensive, well thought out EV cooling system, but all the parts are there. Beyond that, nothing really remarkable in the underhood area. The vehicle they sent us has one of their higher end paint schemes on it. You can see it's a 2-tone vehicle. There are several options that you can paint the roof color and the body color, but all of that depends on the options and the way that you spec the vehicle. The wheels that are on this have a gold hue that match the roof. These are the 19-inch option and are the highest end wheels that MINI offers for this car. One of the things that I thought is a little confusing, and maybe there's a way to change it in the settings, are the lock unlock features. So several times when I got out of the vehicle after driving it, the rear doors remain locked. And so after I got out of the vehicle, I had to pull the key fob out of my pocket and unlock the doors in order to get my kids out of the back seat. So that was maybe a little confusing. I'm not really sure why that's the way it is, but I'm sure if I were able to spend enough time with it, I could find it in the settings. I didn't have a chance. Moving into the vehicle, we can see that they went the route of this fabric on the dash and the door panels, and that continues into the second row. If you look on their website, they refer to this as a 2D fabric made from recycled materials. When I look at it, I think it looks okay. I think it's one of those design choices that may be off-putting or I don't know, maybe polarizing is a better word to say it. I think it looks okay. I have a lot of questions about the durability of this fabric long term, not only from a snag potential, but just dirt and grime. I don't know how you keep this clean long term. The other point that came up was if you are a person who likes to rest your arm on the windowsill, which I think a lot of people are, this fabric's got a pretty severe texture to it, and it tends to get uncomfortable pretty fast. Other than that, everything seems to have a soft touch material in all the right places. So if you put your arm on this armrest or the center console, that feels fine. The steering wheel is nice. It's got a big heavy bolster to it, so it's a thick grip. It's heated. I thought this strap for a third spoke in the steering wheel was a really interesting design choice. I think it looks okay, but again, it's another one of those things that's probably going to get dirty and really difficult to clean later on. So once we're in the car, I have a seat here. I am not the thinnest of individuals, so this seat has really high bolsters on the side. Great for when you're out and, you know, moving around those back roads. But for me, it got a little uncomfortable on my hour-plus drive home. Other than that, all the controls are reasonably well laid out. I have the option to control most of my infotainment right through the steering wheel. We have blinkers and light controls on this stock, wiper controls on this stock with an option for auto wipers, which I really like. They seem to work well and reacted quickly to contaminants on the windshield. So that was good. The vents I think they look nice. They're really easy to adjust and get pointed, you know, in whatever direction is that you want to point them. Even on my personal vehicles, I sometimes struggle with that. So that was welcome. The bulk of your infotainment and even as we can see, there's a heads up display that will disappear when the vehicle's off. So if we want that back, we can press the brakes, and then there's a stop start key fob or key in the center console almost. It's maybe a little kitschy, but I think that's kind of what this vehicle was going for. Just maybe not your average SUV. It tries to be kitschy in different ways, like the round infotainment screen, which is maybe the first thing that you see when you get in here. At first, I was a little nervous about the way this was laid out. I don't like the information that I need while I'm driving, like my speed and cruise control settings, etc., being in the center. So there is a heads-up display that works very well, that contains all the pertinent information that you would need while driving. And this screen can act like just your infotainment. It is also possible to set this to be your speedometer. I found it to be very intuitive for the most part. For instance, there's HVAC controls on the screen. I don't think most people would prefer that. They do tend to be pretty easy to access. So for instance, if I wanted to change the temperature, I tap the button and then I have temperature up, temperature down controls. If I need further HVAC control, I can go into the HVAC menu and it's all right there. If we're in the HVAC mode and we want to get back, say you're a person who does like to have your speedometer and your battery information displayed on the screen, it's actually pretty easy. You can tap anywhere where those small gauges exist and it will take you right to the screen that features the speedometer and your battery level, etc. So again, relatively intuitive. I figured most of this out while driving without having to lose concentration on the road. You can get to most settings with a button on the steering wheel or through buttons in the center console relatively easily. It does have a few physical buttons. This is your shift mechanism. So it's push button to park, You push the tab forward 2 clicks to go to reverse, 1 click for neutral, and down for drive. Then again, I featured this a little bit earlier, but this is the stop start button, if you will. It looks like a key, you twist it like a key, the vehicle comes to life. This is the part of the interior that or of their choices here, that I question the most. This toggle is for what they call experiences. And so this screen and slash some of the driving characteristics of the vehicle can be changed with this experiences toggle. So if I wanted it to be in go-kart mode, which is sort of the most aggressive mode for the vehicle, it makes a cool noise when you go there. And then you have this neat black and red screen that features a speedometer, your battery power, and your this is actually the power output in percent of the vehicle. From there, you can go into the core, which I think is sort of the normal mode. And then they have this green mode, which also significantly impacts the vehicle's, let me get to wherever the green mode is. We didn't go to green mode. This is green mode. So this is a mode that, as the name indicates, is more of an economy mode. So it changes this little character in the middle depending on how you're driving. If it's aggressive, it's a cheetah. If it's not aggressive, it's a hummingbird. It also changes the pedal map. So the pedal map becomes much more conservative. It's much easier to drive conservatively given a more conservative pedal map, which you probably need with this vehicle. So my biggest complaint about this vehicle and the last vehicle I reviewed was the overall range. So with the 64 kilowatt battery pack that's found in this vehicle, it has a potential range of 212 miles, which, if you live in a city, you're just bebopping around there, that's great. If you're just using this as a commuter car to get from home to work and back, that's fine too, so long as you have a charger at home or at work where you can start the day fully topped off. For me, I have a 38-mile one-way commute to work, so I'm at 75 miles, maybe 80, just getting from home to work and back. So beyond that, if I have to do much other driving, I'm pretty limited in what I can do. And I understand there are a lot of people who that's plenty for. But if you're not considering the optimum conditions, right? 75 degrees, sunny, no wind, 212 is plenty. But if you get into a situation where it's winter time and your range is decreased by 25%, now you're looking at 150 miles total range. For me, I'm using half of my range just to get back and forth from work. Most days that's fine, but if I have to run errands afterwards, it might not be fine. And so that's my beef with having these vehicles that have around 200 miles of range. Okay. So one more thing about the interior. Sorry, I went on a tangent there. One more thing about the interior is this little box here. It looks like it's removable. It's not. It's permanently affixed to the center console here. I don't mind it in terms of storage, right? You can put your ID, your wallet in there. It covers it up. That's all well and good. The part that I was surprised by was when I first tried to open it, I grabbed it from the side, not realizing that this was a latch, and I was able to pop the top cover off of it really, really easily. So that just felt like, for a vehicle that is selling at a price point for its size, that is marketing itself towards premium, I have to imagine, this is certainly a demerit. Arm console slide, or the center console, moves back and forth. We've got some USB-C ports here, wireless charging for your phone here. This does have multiple levels of charge to, I'm assuming, conserve your battery. So I think currently it's set at a state that won't keep your phone, it won't charge it, but it will keep it at where it is when you put it in there. So this vehicle weighs in at around 4,500 pounds, which is obviously a function of the smaller battery pack. So without actually removing some cladding underneath the vehicle to see where the battery pack lives, I have to imagine they can't fit a very big battery pack in this. I think when I looked online, the gas versions of this vehicle weighed in around 3,500 or 3,600 pounds. So the battery pack adds about 900 pounds to this vehicle going from the gas to the EV version. 4,500 pounds is still pretty lightweight for an EV without knowing Tesla's weights off the top of my head. But coming from a 9,000 pound truck to driving this feels quick, nimble. It doesn't feel heavy like a lot of the other EVs that I've driven. So moving to the back seat, this is a relatively small vehicle. That being said, I was able to fit 2 rear-facing car seats in here without having to adjust the front, without having to adjust my seat. I think the passenger is probably a little bit further forward than they would like to be having a rear-facing car seat in here. And I should caveat that our rear-facing car seats have the ability to extend them a little bit. So we have a larger child in a rear-facing car seat. She's 3. She's on the small side of 3, but she was uncomfortable in her car seat because we had to have that collapsed all the way. She didn't really have a good place to put her feet. So that being said, you can fit 2 rear-facing car seats in here, but it's less than ideal. You certainly could not fit a 3rd car seat in here. As you can see, this fabric continues on these rear door panels. On the front, it sort of blends from blue to orange, and then in the back, it's all orange. If we go to the rear cargo area, it's got a power lift gate, nice and quiet, works well. The rear cargo area, I think, is pretty spacious for this size vehicle. I was able to fit my 3-year-old's bike back here, my 1-year-old's bike back here, their helmets, all the stuff we needed to go out for the day and have a little bit of fun. Other than that, nothing really mind-blowing back here. It does have underfloor storage for your charger / whatever else you might want to put back here. So that is available. This is a nice lightweight material. This is a honeycomb material inside that's probably filled with foam, and then it has a fiberglass exterior, and then they wrap it in this carpet scrim. It ends up being a very firm feeling floor with relatively lightweight. There's an available button here to close. Beyond that, everything seems to work like it should. The infotainment was fast and responsive. The cameras seemed adequate for what it was. There were some interesting kind of weird camera views that tried to do a panorama off the rear. That ended up being difficult to back up with. I didn't think it had a good wide camera angle for being in a parking lot and try to back out of a parking space. It was difficult to see if people were coming, down an aisle if you were pulled in forward. Let's see. Did have, I think that was it. So all in all, I had a ton of fun with this car, which I didn't really expect. I think that, again, I'm going to go back to this. It's a great car. And if you take into account the EV tax credits, which may or may not be here in the next few months, this is actually kind of a good deal. It ends up, you can get the EV version of this vehicle for the same price as the gas version of the vehicle if you take into account the EV tax credits. If you don't take those into account, this vehicle is around $46,000 with a 212 mile range. In my opinion, even though it's trying to be a premium subcompact or compact SUV, that still feels on the high end for a vehicle that just doesn't have a very long range. That being said, it's very quick. Mostly premium materials on the interior with the exception of that fabric on the doors. So I'm torn. I had a lot of fun with it, but it feels a little pricey.